You know, I work on all kinds of things inside of the Tinker Shed here. Everything from fixing my car to gardening around the yard itself. Pretty much anything that I have to fix comes out here to get service. Now, I have a young 9-year-old great nephew who apparently watches the episodes religiously, and he seems to really like it. He's got a very analytical mind and he likes to tinker himself. So the last time I was visiting my mother, I got a visit from my niece and her son Sam. Well, Sam is a bit of a rock star. His dad's a great, fantastic drummer. But unfortunately, Sam's guitar's damaged. I guess he was rocking out pretty hard and actually pulled on the patch cord and ripped the electric jack right out of the guitar. So he asked me if I could take it to the Tinker Shed and fix it for him, and how can I say no? So today we're going to take a step right off of the path and we're going to fix Sam's electric guitar. This will be a fairly quick video, but it's a lot of fun. And Sam, if you're watching, I'm going to try to get this thing working for you so you can rock out with your friends once again. So stick around, grab something cold to drink, and enjoy Dino's Tinker Shed. I know this one's going to be fun. So here you can see the damage. Basically, the patch cord jack's been taken right out here from the solid body, and the one wire here has come off of the solder joint. Now, I used a jumper lead between here and the contact and plugged it in, and the guitar actually worked. So I know that nothing's damaged inside. Let's have a listen to that. Well, that's great. We know that the guitar still works. There's nothing damaged internally. So really all we have to do is resolder that wire onto the jack and we should be good to go. So anytime you're going to solder like this, you want to make sure everything's nice and clean. I'll use some acid flux paste on it, and hopefully we can get this thing back together and working for him relatively fast. Okay, Sam, I'm going to start by plugging in the soldering iron and warming that up. And I'm going to use some rosin core solder here for electronics. So I try to first lift off the old solder just by heating it up and using the soldering iron like a spoon. And it had limited success. It worked a little bit, but you can see most of it still stayed on that lug. So I stripped some automotive wire here and I'm going to hit it with some flux paste. And I'm going to use this very similar to what they call solder braid. So basically I'm going to heat up the lug and then I'm going to put the solder braid on the other side, and before I take the heat off you'll see that it'll flow over into the wire and pull the solder off, and it cleans it up pretty well. While I've got the iron out, I'm going to semi-tin this piece of wire here. I don't want to overheat the insulation on it, so I just add just a little bit of solder to it just to sort of stiffen the wire up a little bit more. It's not fully tinned, but it'll work fine. Then what I'm going to do is use a little bit of emery cloth and just sand that lug down a little bit more just to clean it up a little bit better so the solder will flow. And of course I'll hit that with a little bit of
flux core paste as well. Here, flux paste, just to make sure that it's nice and clean. Next, I'll take the wire and I'll feed it from the outside in and put a little twist on it to hold it. And then I'll heat the back side of the lug itself and feed some solder onto the lug. And you'll see I just keep adding it until it gets a nice globule on there. And I'll trim off the excess wire, and this repair is done.
Okay, the solder's hardened up, and I think before we start putting everything back together, we should probably check to make sure that it works. So let's do that. I'll turn the overdrive off. So it's nice and clean, there's no static without the overdrive. I think that sounds pretty good. Let's see if we can find some screws to put this this jack back into the solid body. Well, it's been a couple of days since I've started working on Sam's guitar. And if I can get this gate open, you'll see why. I've been waiting for a set of guitar strings. It was missing a lower E string, so I thought I might as well put a new set on. We'll give it a little bit of a cleanup. And as you can see, in the meantime, winter's come to Niagara Falls. So let's get these strings on there and get the guitar cleaned up.
Now the nice thing about Sam's guitar case actually is it has that little foam support that you can take out and use to support the fretboard. Now I'm going to start here with the low E string, and I'm going to pull it off for a couple reasons. One is I want to see how long the factory strings were, and they were about 2 machine heads long, which is pretty standard if I remember right. I'll use that as I restring it. And secondly, I really didn't want to get in there and cut all the strings. I wanted to sort of take them all out in one piece. I don't know, I'm just weird that way. So I went through and undid every single machine head here, which took me probably about 20 minutes or so because I don't have a string winder for the machine heads. So I kept plodding along here, pulling one string out after another, and they just pull out through the back. Finally, I'm getting down to the smaller strings. This was the last string here that was on the guitar, was a B string, as the low E was missing. Once I got all the strings off, I thought I'd give it a little bit of a cleanup. So I start with a small paintbrush here to get anything out of here. I'm not sure, Sam. It seemed like there might have been some cookie crumbs or something in around the tremolo bars here. But overall, it was fairly clean. Now, again, I don't play guitar. I used to monkey around a little bit with an acoustic, but I don't have any kind of cleaners or anything, so I just used a little bit of water on a shop towel here and went through and tried to clean up as best I could any oils or any kind of debris that was on the guitar itself. So I cleaned the fretboard and the body and, you know, in around the pickups, that kind of stuff, being as careful as I possibly could not to damage anything. Then I came back in with a small cotton swab just to clean out any remaining debris that was in and around these machine, well, I can't remember what they're called, bridge or whatever it's called. Like I say, I'm not an artist in any way. And finally came through and cleaned up all the machine heads just to polish them up a little bit. I think we're just about done.
So these are the strings that Sam wants put on his guitar. So I'll open these up and we'll get these things laced in here and see if we can't get it tuned up. Now I don't really play the guitar. I used to a little bit, but the reality is I've never owned an electric guitar, and we'll see how this goes.
I'll just open up the strings here, these Primo Slinkies, which is a wicked name, and I'll pull them out, and they're all individually wrapped nicely here. Now I'm going to start again with the low E string, just feeding it through. And I did a little bit of reading. There's different ways to string a guitar, I suppose, but I string all of the new strings through the back of the guitar first before I even start putting any of them in the machine head. So I flip the guitar over and I feed this low E through and then continue that with the other ones in fast time. There we go. All of them are strung in place and they're ready to go onto the machine heads. Now to do this, I am going to first measure off that 2 machine heads that we had from the factory, and I'm just going to give them a little nip with side cutters. And then I'll take a pair of needle-nosed pliers, and I'm actually going to put a little bend in the end here so you can kind of see it's a little crook. So this will get captured through the machine head. And then I'm going to feed it in from the inside and start turning. And again, I don't have a handle to do this any quicker, a speed handle, so I'm going to skip over a lot of this. Basically, I just tighten them all down to a point where they're reasonably tight, and then I'll pull the amp out, I'll plug it in, and I'll start to tune it. And I just used Fender's tuner off the internet and got it reasonably close. Sam will have to do this himself when he gets it home. And now we'll just package it up back into the box. You know what? I think we're about ready to go.
That wraps up today's episode. Now I realize fixing guitars probably isn't what people looking for power sports was expecting on this channel. But when my nephew asked me to fix his guitar, well, I couldn't resist. So Sam, I'll get this guitar down to you as soon as I can so you can start playing some more music. And I'll see the rest of you again soon here on Dino's Tinker Shed. You have a great day.